All right, welcome to the City of Eureka Springs. This is the BOZA and Planning Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 12th. It is 6 o'clock. We're in the auditorium. Tom, can we do a roll call?
Ansa Lee.
Here.
Joe Hill.
Here.
Susan Hawley.
Here.
Peter Graham.
Here.
Fergie Stewart.
He is absent with notice.
And I'm President Tom Buford.
All right, we've got a quorum. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to start out our meeting tonight with a public hearing. It is at 104 Wall Street, and this is for a setback variance. So an application has been submitted for this public hearing. And I am going to ask for Amelia, you want to come up? Okay, so hopefully everybody has read this. They own a bed and breakfast on this particular property, but there's a small little shed that they need to deal with. I know Tom and I went out and took a look at it, not together, separately, but so we are familiar with what it looks like. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to drive by or not. Does anybody have any questions immediately they want to ask Amelia, or do you want to just have her explain what their plan is for that building? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So
Just state your name and your
I'm
address.
Amelia Irwin, and my address is 139 Mill Hollow, and this address that we're hoping to work on is 104 Wall Street. And what we're trying to do is, well, what we have to do is, and we have permission already to demolish a shed, which sits maybe about 30 feet from the house. I'm not exact on those numbers, but, and that shed is very old, and it was repaired with really cheap materials. It's basically dissolving. There's nothing we can do to save it. If we could, we would. However, we're replacing it, which has also been approved by the HDC, with a similar facade of a structure, but on the front side, but it will go back further in depth into the backyard of our property. So why this needs to come to, and we're hoping to use that as an innkeeper unit for our live-in innkeeper at our bed and breakfast. We found that an innkeeper is always going to want a little bit more privacy after they're there for a long time. It can get kind of taxing to always be with the guests constantly, and so as a business decision to add a personal unit for our innkeeper, and maybe one day it would be for ourselves, but right now we have young children, so currently that's our business plan. So we know that we have to demolish this shed at some point because it's in really bad state of repair, and so we're hoping to demolish the shed and replace with the existing basically footprint on the front side of an innkeeper's unit. So as it turns out, when you look at the plat, which I think you all have, right? Mm-hmm. The shed, which was supposedly, historically, or according to a few histories that we've heard, there before the house was there, which was built in 1882. And so if it was there before the house and it was a tacking shed during the Civil War, is what the story is. So it would have been there a very long time, maybe before the edge of the shed encroaches onto Tuggles Alley, which is an obsolete alleyway, to the tune of about 18 inches. And so what we're asking for a zoning variance, because if we were to bring it the 10 feet in, we would then be too far into our parking lot for it to make practical sense. And since the shed was there for so long, when the technology of the,
Did you
what's the
say
word?
survey?
The survey technology, when that sort of changed, it pushed the line over just a little bit. So I think I'm kind of talking in circles. It's kind of a complex thing to describe. That's why it was so great that you guys got to come out and look at it. But what I'm asking is that we can keep the existing corner of our shed in the existing place where it is currently, which is encroaching by about 18 inches onto Tuggles Alley, which is totally obsolete, and be able to just build back about, I think it is about 19 feet of encroachment of about 18 inches. So that's what we're asking for. And another option would have been to vacate the obsolete alleyway, but because of our parking situation, because of my neighbor's parking situation, that isn't really a practical solution for either of us, because even if we were to vacate the alley, we would still both need the alley, so we would vacate it and then turn it into an easement, which kind of defeats the purpose of vacating it. Nonetheless, the alley is 20 feet wide. There's nowhere it can go. It just goes into an empty holler, which our property line is down in the holler. And so it's 20 feet wide, so we still are giving the neighbor plenty of space, and the neighbor is also very supportive of this idea. In this process, we've taken her into consideration, we've taken our innkeeper into consideration, we've taken the historic district into consideration, and you guys as well, and we understand that this is asking for a variance, but on a practical level, I don't feel like it's going to affect anyone other than ourselves, really. We still have 20 feet of alley before the neighbor's actual property line begins. So, and they would be the only ones that it would affect, and they're very much in support. So anyway, I'm sorry if I've kind of danced around what we're doing, but if you have any questions.
And I will also add, my understanding is that the neighbors that you're talking about on the other side of the alley already have an existing
Yes.
variance. Whether or not it was approved or not, no, you said it was approved.
They said it was approved. So
they have some on their side.
There is some precedence for that, is my understanding, is that when Susan Chamberlain owned Harvest House, there was a question with the neighbors about some fencing and some rock work on the ground there, which encroaches onto that alleyway, and supposedly what they ended up coming up with was that rock work and that fence had been there for so long that it probably, well, what she said was it had probably been there before the alleyway was even created into an alleyway. So that it was, for historic purposes, they said it was, going to remain there. So that's what I'm asking, for that corner to just remain in the same place. We wouldn't move over an inch closer to the alley.
So everything would stay the same as what it is right now. When you drive out there, basically they're both using that Tuggles Alley as a driveway. When you get to the back of their property, which would be like, going from the back of the property to maybe like where the stairs are, they've got flat land, but then it drops off like a huge cliff. The city's never going to develop that as a road anyway, so it's basically kind of null and void because they both have issues on either side of that. I know, Tom, you took a look at it. So do y'all have any questions for her?
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
I totally understand, makes sense what you're describing. With it sitting the 18 to 24 inches into the alleyway and not on the property line, was it taken into consideration that the new structure that will be built would be on the property line, or are you just trying to get that extra 18 to 24 inches in the size of the structure?
Yeah, thank you. It is something we've considered, and I mean, we're really just crunching inches to be able to fit everything that we need into a 20-foot facade. So, and I'm saying facade meaning just the front side of the building. I can't think of the word for that. But if we were to scoot it closer, even 18 inches to 2 feet to the house, we're really encroaching on our parking. And, you know, while we could still make it work, it would be pretty tight because we're already using 4 feet of our parking, of our parking space there to give our innkeeper a 3-foot path and an overhang to block from rain or elements, and to protect the house. So that's, yes, we have thought of it. I'm really hoping to be able to utilize that 18 inches and keep the house where it the shed where it has historically been. And that's the hope, because we are really kind of crunched for inches at this point.
Does anybody else have any questions for Amelia? All right, so we've got this application. You hopefully understand exactly what where her situation is, knowing that we have some established items on either side of that alley that have been there for a long, long time. So her variance is not requesting a change necessarily, but for it to really basically remain the same as far as the inches that new building will go into that alley, which would be exactly where the old one is right now. So does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
Sorry, this is
Oh,
just
sorry.
public comments.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
public comments.
Yeah.
How many do you have? Do you have any? Do you have some?
So I do not. So Amelia showed me a text message that she got from her neighbor. Do you want to take that on the record?
Yeah, I mean, it's a.
Do you mind reading that?
Text is considered a legal document now, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so, but I don't see anybody else here for public comments then, so if you want to
There
read.
was also someone who called, James Lundy, said he called and left a voicemail.
Yeah, he did call and leave me a voicemail that he does
He
support the
wasn't able
application.
to email. He didn't.
Okay, so how many do we have? 2 that we're gonna, okay, so go ahead, Amelia.
Okay, this is from my neighbor Connie.
No, she's on the
Her-
opposite side of the
Her
Tuggles?
last name is escaping me, but she is the one that would be affected if anyone. She's on the side that we would be building on. We share the alleyway. She says, Amelia, thank you for taking me through your plan for the shed. What a great idea to make it into a residence for your innkeeper. I appreciate that the side of the shed facing my backyard will remain the same, since the shed has been an eyesore for as long as I have owned my property. In my opinion, the changes you're proposing will benefit my property value and the neighborhood in general. Thanks again, Connie.
Okay, Kyle, do you have the other one?
No, it was just a voicemail he left on my phone
Oh.
stating support for the application.
And who is it from?
James Lundy.
Okay, and he's a neighbor that was on the list?
Yeah, I think he's on the other side of you.
He is 2 houses down in the opposite direction.
Okay.
I think, I'm sorry, I don't know the address.
Okay, so, well, if it's on our list, then,
It is.
yeah, okay.
I also spoke to all of my direct neighbors personally and explained to them what our plan was, and above and beyond putting the signs up, they were all very supportive.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Okay, so basically all we have left is a motion to approve.
I make a,
Sorry, it's just public comments. We need to go into the BOZA.
Oh,
Yes, we have.
see, my brain's not working right now. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's go back into, so let's end this public hearing. Can I get a motion and a second to end the?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, all right, so we've got a motion and a second to go ahead and end our public hearing. Let's go into our board.
All those in favor?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to go into our Board of Zoning Adjustment. Let's go into the approval of agenda, which is basically this, that we're talking about, this variance application. Do we have any additional public comments? Have anybody? All right, so this is the variance on 104 Wall Street.
Sorry. Can we do approval of the agenda?
The what?
Approval of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
Oh, gosh, I just need to quit tonight, don't I?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Public comments. We have none. We have no unfinished business. New business, 104 Wall Street, setback variance. We've heard the explanation of why this is before us. We've gotten a couple public comments from some of the neighbors. If nobody has, does anyone have any questions, any more questions about this property before we vote?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance at 104 Wall Street as it's been presented.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion to approve, and we have a second. Ann did the motion, Peter did the second. So let's vote. Do we need to have a roll call, or are you okay with just doing a voice?
I think we can do a voice vote unless it gets too muddled. Yeah.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor of approving the variance setback at 104 Wall Street signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so it's the yays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Do we
Appreciate
need
it.
to sign anything before she leaves?
If you would sign that page on that application in your packet, I will add it to her file.
Okay, hold on. Okay, Jemima, you see it? Oh, here it is, got it. Right here. Approved, what was it, five ayes, 0 nays. Okay.
And then I'll email Jacob tomorrow, let him know that was approved, and then you should be able to get with him and get your permits.
And then I'll go with him to get the permit?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Second?
All right, we've got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, our meeting, Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting is closed. Okay, we're going to go into Planning Commission. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, so we've got a couple things just on the agenda. So if we're going through our list, number 4, the...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, do.
The new business, 50 Wall Street.
The what?
50 Wall Street. Oh,
Wait,
I'm
aren't
sorry.
we
You're doing
approving our
commission
agenda
business.
first?
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
No,
can
no,
we?
you're good. You're good. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I didn't realize you were at commission business. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry. All right, so a number 4, the FAR discussion, we're gonna, we're not gonna do that.
What happened to the conditional use of the tourist lodging transfer?
Oh, I see what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're,
Well, I was doing approval of the agenda, which is on,
Okay.
yeah.
We did a motion to approve in a second.
right.
But then we have to
but-
go to the new business.
I know, but we have some things that are changing on our agenda of the whole meeting.
Yeah, we can either remove that motion or motion to amend the agenda.
So we're modifying the agenda is what we're doing.
Yeah, because some of these things aren't going to happen on the
Okay,
rest
no,
of our
well, because we
agenda.
had a motion to approve in a second one. I didn't realize we were modifying it.
Okay,
Okay, so I withdraw my motion.
okay. All right. So number 4, the FAR discussion, we're postponing that. That's not happening tonight on our planning agenda. The mayor's sign ordinance, we're not doing that tonight. And then, okay, I guess we'll leave the rest of them on there. The only other thing I would say is, can we possibly do a combination of 7 and add a discussion on short-term rentals to that? That is admin steps and penalties for failure to comply. So can we just wrap that all into one, please? Okay. Make sense? Does it make sense?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay, so number 7 is the discussion, which is the business checklist. Remember
Okay,
we
what
talked.
is it? What is a business checklist?
Okay, so remember at our last meeting, we talked about a business checklist. What is required of a property? So what is required of a short-term rental? They have to get a business license, they have to get a certificate of occupancy, they have to get information with the CAPC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? We talked
Okay.
about that at our last meeting.
Okay.
What I'm asking is, can we add to it procedures for failure to comply and what administrative steps would be required in Kyle's office?
On revoking a non-conforming or tourist lodging.
Yeah, any of those as a discussion.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So those are the items. Can we get a motion and a second to approve the agenda under planning?
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to amend the agenda as it was originally written. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You may go into public comment. Am I good to go into public comment, or do you want to move right into new business?
Yeah. I don't have anybody signed up for public comments, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right, unfinished business, we have none. So our new business on our agenda for planning tonight is the conditional use permit at 50 Wall Street. This is Brett Dees and Michael Sebastian, property owners seeking to continue existing conditional use permit for a 5-unit tourist lodging in residential 2 zone. Who's here to represent this property?
So we sent them a Zoom link. It does not look like they're logged on. Their realtor, Kim, is here that she can answer some questions, I think.
Okay, so my understanding is that the applicant needs to either be on a meeting or physically here. Have they given her the responsibility to take on this application, or this particular item legally for them?
That I'm not positive on. I have been working with all 3 of them in the process.
I see the name there,
Turn their camera on.
so,
I'm here.
Okay, you're there.
Oh, okay.
Sweet.
okay.
Yeah, I was like, I see it.
Okay, all right, so we have this is Brett?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we have the applicant on phone. So as far as the property goes, my understanding is this is the Woods Cabin. And this is the property on Wall Street, and it is in the process of being purchased. We are here to do a transfer. Does anyone have any questions for the new potential property owner? Does anyone have any questions about from the existing owners to transfer this property? Do we have any letters? We don't have any letters from neighbors or anything like that?
No, I have not received anything, no.
Okay. All of the notifications and everything were sent out, so they've all received it. How long has this property been a CUP? Do we know?
It was first granted in 1992, and it was transferred in 2016.
Okay, so since '92, it has been a 5-unit CUP.
Sorry, it was initially a 2-unit.
And then it grew.
And then, yeah, it grew.
Okay.
85?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Because if we have no questions and we don't need any explanation, then the only thing left we need to do is vote.
I make a motion that we approve the transfer to the CUP at 50 Wall Street.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion to approve the transfer, and we've got a second. Motion was made by Ann, and the second was done by Joe. Are we okay with just doing a voice?
I think so.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor of approving this transfer of this conditional use permit at 50 Wall Street signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that's 5-0. Do I have that application here too? Do you want me to sign the one I have?
Yeah, if you would sign that one, yeah, I will give it to him.
Welcome to Eureka Springs.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your almost sale. This is 104.
Oh,
That's the wrong property.
don't think it's in here.
Here it is. Oh, yeah, if you want to take it to him. Just, yeah. Kyle, do you need? Okay, never mind. Thank you. Okay, let's go into commission business. All right, we've got, number one, commission business, we've got approval of the minutes from the August 8th meeting. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from the August 2nd meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that one's done. Discussion of the workshop. So we had a workshop on our planning BOZA applications. That was held at 5 o'clock. We've got several changes, I guess, that we're suggesting. Hopefully, it's what, September? Hopefully, at our October meeting, we'll have some draft applications with some of the changes that we requested, and also some additional information back from department heads as to their willingness to sign off on some of the requirements that we're asking for. So basically, a couple of discussions that we had was related to HDC and planning, whether or not it makes sense for some of our applications to come to planning first before it goes to HDC. So we're looking at possibly trying to combine, for paper trail purposes, one application that can be used and passed from commission to commission, and therefore all of that information is in one place and can be filed once a decision is made, either yay or nay, to approve whatever is being asked of. And then one of the other big items is, for example, say, I'm going to use the example of new construction. If our hope is to say that the Public Works says that there's adequate sewer and water, fire department says there's adequate space to get a fire truck down there, et cetera, et cetera. Can we get those signatures on those applications prior to us approving? So those are a couple of the big things, and there's some other smaller ones too. We're going to move on to number 3, which is the B&B notification letters. This was a discussion and a process that's been worked on by Ann. So Ann, do you have a follow-up?
The last I knew, we were waiting on Scott to provide us with documentation.
Yes, so I did hear back from him. Those 5 or 6 cease and desist that we sent out, all but 2 have resolved with him what they need to do to become compliant. And so I would suggest at this point those 2 be called in for a show cause.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're still working on tourist lodging.
I'm not working on tourist lodging until we get this done.
Okay. All right. So
Just one thing at a time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the hope is if we've got a couple still left on the list, then that we'll have them at our next meeting.
Yeah.
I'll get with you.
Okay. Do we need to take a vote on that, or is that something we can just do?
We don't need to take a vote on
Okay.
that.
All right.
No. Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. We are not doing the FAR. So the next one is our legally non-conforming properties ordinance. I know we had looked at this prior, and we had some questions as to whether or not it was coming to this table. And I think we established that it was coming to this table and would come to this table. So if our next meeting, we can have a copy of that ordinance so that we can read it and decide whether or not it says what we think it should say in 2023, 2024, that would be fantastic. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore tonight. We're not doing the sign ordinance, business checklist, and the short-term rental discussion. So is it my understanding you gave this to Kyle?
Ansel Lee and I think both picked it
This?
up in the
Oh,
Democratic
the one
there.
from Fayetteville.
This is, okay, so a business checklist, I think, is needed. We had this discussion when we sent out some of our letters, and I know Amelia had mentioned this too. For CUPs and others, tourist lodging, whatever, for them to understand exactly what is required of them, meaning they have to get a business license, they have to get a CUP, they may have to transfer something, and they also need to talk with the CAPC if it applies based on where their property is and what type of property they have, be it restaurant or lodging, that they have to pay CAPC taxes. To come up with a checklist for them so that IDA has it, we have it, HDC has it, and that same checklist is sent to everybody, or is available to everyone, not only by paper form, but also on our website, so that everybody is clear. I know we had talked about the business, what is it? The business development group or what is the task force, the mayor's task force?
Economic development.
Economic development, that they have one on there that we could modify or just
Oh,
use,
okay.
remember? So that's part of it. But then when I read this article that you had sent out, we've sent out letters based on your audit. We've requested properties to do certain things to come into compliance. When I talked to Kyle about where we were on some of these, so when I talked to you last, we still had 5 or 6 that were outstanding. Now you're saying we're down to 2. We do need to have show cause. There were letters that were sent out to these individuals that had a 30-day expiration on them. I asked Kyle, what are the city's procedures? Like, is there any? Does he make them up? Do we make them up? Does the city have something in an ordinance that says when someone fails to comply or someone fails to respond, what are next steps? When you sent this out, it says Fayetteville is aggressively going after people who are illegally operating tourist lodging, be it B&Bs or short-term or Airbnbs, whatever you want to call them, however, whatever platforms they're on or whatever they're called. They're not only saying that they're going to maybe limit the number that they're going to have, but they're also acknowledging that they have people who are operating illegally. So their solution is that when they've got somebody that's operating illegally, they're going to shut the water off. So if they're not in compliance, they don't have proper paperwork done, whatever, they're going to shut their water off, which means they have no business, especially if it's short term. Somebody's not going to come there if there's no water. So that's their solution. What do we have as a city as our solution? So what happens if we have somebody who has received letters, has never responded?
Are you talking about an illegal rental, or are you talking about,
I'm talking about both.
well, we have
So-
one here, we can bring them in for show cause.
True, but what happens after show cause? Fayetteville is saying they're shutting the water off because they may still continue to operate illegally, even if we've taken away that CUP. So
So there's nothing in there? as
There's-
far as-
we don't
I think
have
that's
anything.
going to cause that's cause for research. We need to see what we can and cannot do. I mean, what we say Fayetteville can do, or they do,
It's different
does
from
not mean our
us.
city council is going to approve that.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, do we feel like that we have a system in place? Because I know Kyle's new, and so when you were doing your list of properties that you were checking to make sure they were in compliance, there was some discussion. What are we sending them? Are we sending them a show cause? Are we sending them, we ended up sending them a letter that said that they had a cease and desist, but they had 30 days, right? Is that now our official procedure? Is that what the next Kyle will get to see as being the
I think
official
that's the procedure on taxes, for sure. The procedure, if they're not advertising as a bed and breakfast, they're
That's what
not
I'm
serving
saying.
breakfast, that's a little different. But if they're not paying their taxes, look at the CAPC ordinance. It's very clear
I understand.
in that. So I think we have to
So-
mirror that. There's a penalty if you don't pay it on time. I don't know what CAPC does, but if you're not paying your taxes,
So I guess what I'm asking is, do we need to come up with a procedure so that it's clear, not clear as mud, because, you know, we never used to get a hold of the CAPC before. So this is just something new that we've done this year to see if
we
they've
were
been.
never able to do annual reviews before.
So what
Okay.
I'm saying
Yeah,
is,
so this is all
should
new.
we as a commission come up with what our procedures are? And if there's anything additional that would have to be done or would be required to be done, or should it be done as an ordinance, can we present that to city council? So,
Seems like we have a procedure, but we don't have
all
penalties.
pieces, yeah,
Penalties.
and penalties.
Let me do some research on that.
And that's all I'm saying is that I think it would have been nice to say, we've already discussed all this, we know exactly what our procedure is, and these are things that we can step through, not only in Kyle's office, but we as a commission, and are there any penalties? So are there monetary penalties?
I think so.
And I have a question. Is this referring to, this is all the nightly renters, Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts? Because aren't the two only referring to the bed and breakfasts? We took like the 21 or something. and
That's
then
what
there was
we're,
like-
that's what we're doing right now. is
Yes,
that-
the
Right.
two, but they're also including the
It
Airbnbs
would-
as well.
Could be
Okay, so it could
Airbnbs
be
and
potential-
tourist lodging.
Okay,
and
so it
all
could
of them.
potentially be more than just two properties that are operating illegally?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
And
'cause
what are our criteria be for a show cause? And I know we've got some other things that are on the list. I'm just saying that, when we had that discussion about what is a unit, the city council asked us to bring several things to them instead of one thing to them. So with this discussion, is there something potentially that could require us to go to city council to get approval? And I'd like to have all of that in one shot, as opposed to 6 months later saying, Kyle has a question about this. We did it this way this time, but this is how Kylie did it. This is how Glenna did it. Let's come up with
I'll do some
procedure.
research on that next meeting.
Okay. Other than that, we are done with our meeting. So agenda setting. I know that we talked about getting the drafts, hopefully, for our applications. And you're going to wait on the tourist lodging, but hopefully we'll have information on
Yes.
a couple possible show causes on the B&B side. How long do you think, on this discussion we just had, do you think you'd be able to come up with something for our next meeting to put that on the agenda again?
You mean for the show cause?
No, for what we just talked about our business checklist and/or what are our procedures for not only planning commission and/or Kyle.
Yeah, I can work on that.
Okay, so we're going to put that on the agenda. Can we ask again if we can have our FAR discussion and our sign discussion from the mayor? So Jacob and the mayor?
I thought we agreed to take that FAR to city council.
Well, we wanted to have a discussion with the building inspector first to see what he thought.
Oh, okay.
So, then the question is, do you want to put those on the agenda, or let's just put them on agenda. We don't have anything out there right now that would require a workshop, right?
Could anything?
Okay. Our next meeting will be after city council's meeting, correct?
They've got one more meeting this month, I think.
Oh, yeah, they've got another meeting this month.
Yeah, that Monday will be the second Monday.
Okay, so can we also put maybe a short discussion on tree ordinance? Hopefully it'll get passed.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
I mean, because they added some things last night
Yeah,
that
yeah,
were
they added
helpful,
penalties,
so, yeah.
penalty clause and all,
So-
yeah.
Okay, anybody else have anything they want to put on the agenda? All right, so commissioner comments. Ann, you want to start?
I don't have anything.
Joe?
None.
None, none.
No comments.
Peter? Kyle? Do you have any?
No, thank you, everybody, for being here.
Okay. All right, I don't have anything either, so motion and
Motion
a
to
second.
adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.